All right. We have a offer without an offer page. This one is called Marcus. Oh, Marcus? So that you guys can see it in YouTube as well. It's spelled like this. So, I almost want to say Marcus. Because it's almost like Marcus. It's almost like Marcus, but like then the E at the end makes it almost like sound like it's like the a combination of Mark and use. You know what I mean? So, who knows? But let's see what they wrote. They wrote not a fence. But that looks like a fence. It looks like a fence to me. Up to class safe. Containment procedures. SCP-2604 is stored in containment cell 92 at Site 39. Access outdated procedure. Yes, so. Safe exposure to SCP-2604 has been determined as less than 60 minutes total lifetime exposure. All observations outside of approved testing is to be conducted remotely. The cell is furnished with appropriate sanitary and culinary equipment for prolonged exposure without direct intervention from Foundation personnel. Following incident 2604 Alpha, all observations to be conducted remotely. Under no circumstances are any Foundation personnel to come into direct visual contact with SCP-2604. 2 armed guards are stationed to prevent exposure 24 hours a day. SCP-2604 is not to be moved from containment cell 92 under any circumstances. Any instance of -1 captured displaying late-stage symptoms are to be isolated immediately and guarded by personnel with no prior exposure to SCP-2604. Authorization for testing is signed as of incident Alpha 05. What happened, 05? Tell me. Description: SCP-2604 is a fence constructed from pine wood and iron nails. Interviews with witnesses and personnel that have come into contact with SCP-2604 have revealed that none of them are able to identify SCP-2604 as being a fence. There we go. It is not a Duma. It is not a fence. It is not an offense. Direct visual contact with SCP-2604 causes a progressive cognitive dysfunction whereby affected subjects, hereafter referred to as -1, are incapable of recognizing or responding to artificial barriers, markers, or pathways. The effect only progresses when subjects are in visual contact of SCP-2604. Breaking this contact will arrest the progression. Arrest the progression, so it basically doesn't mean that the progression is standstill. Amnestics have been shown to have little use, with test subjects reporting that they are unable to recall the observation of SCP-2604, but remain unaffected by the accompanying anomalous properties. After 3 hours of exposure, -1 are incapable of recalling the purpose or usage of signs or barriers that do not physically prevent movement. After 12 hours, -1 are incapable of recognizing that a barrier to movement exists as such, failing to identify any barrier, marking, or direction that would prevent movement, even to the detriment of safety. In % of cases, -1 will undergo a type delta not important. Sorry about that. Psychological restructuring DPR event following not less than 72 hours post exposure to SCP-2604. All cognitive dysfunction ceases and -1 exhibits individuated responses to the exposure to SCP-2604. Common forms observed are the ineffectiveness of containment as a principle observed exclusively among Foundation personnel, loss of personal inhibition, exhibition of markedly increased symptoms of pre-existing psychological disorders, significantly increased risk-taking or inability to manage risk. Individuals observed to have experienced a DPR event also exhibit the ability to hasten one set in -1, notably including instances with little or no prior exposure. Access restricted to level 4 clearance. Input credentials. Incident Alpha. Following 8 weeks of testing and containment, 63 Foundation personnel had experienced some degree of exposure to SCP-2604. Late-stage infection was present in 15 individuals. All D-class exposed as a result of routine testing. At 17:48 on 2000 D178541 experienced their first recorded DPR event and rapidly incited several nearby -1 to undergo the same. Security personnel and were forced to undergo DPR event before assisting D178541 with reaching security at the F-Wing barracks. Because there's no fence. Over the course of the next 3 hours, approximately 39 Foundation personnel experienced DPR events. A further 7 had been terminated in attempts to resist. Containment was deliberately breached on SCP objects, and attempts were made to assault with these objects. Remote observations of -1 indicated that they were collectively convinced of the ineffectiveness of containment on these objects and were attempting to remove them from the site for unknown reasons. For the next 48 hours, Foundation security successfully reclaimed all but SCP objects, and all instances of -1 still on site were terminated. To date, SCP objects and former Foundation personnel are accounted for. Containment procedures were appropriately revised following this incident. There's no fence, bro. If there's no fence, it cannot get... Imagine, oh, that would be such an annoyance to have as a neighbor. It's like, hey, don't cross my fence. It's like, what fence? There ain't no fences around here. What are you talking about? I don't see a single fence around me. What even is a fence? Okay, describe to me exactly what a fence is, neighbor, because I don't see anything like that around here. And are you pulling my leg? You serious? I'm gonna go call the police. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier just to call police and explain to them the situation that you are trespassing my property. But even though there's a clear fence right there. There are no fences. What are you talking? I don't even know what a fence is. Yeah, again, I would get really annoyed real fast with somebody like that.